I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education.
He does, and he's not here.
Yes. Oh, okay. I'm doing both.
You are.
Yay. Now let's try that again. This time, I hereby notify that there will be a committee of the whole meeting of the Board of Education School District number 40 at 6 p.m. on Thursday, March 19th, 10:22 in College Professional Development Room. May I have a roll call, please?
Audrey Adamson. Here. Justin Anderson.
Present.
Chet DeSmet.
Here.
Kate Schaefer. Maria S. Trigueros.
Here.
Andrew Ware.
Here.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Here. All right, approval of the minutes. The minutes of the committee of the whole of February 14th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, moving on. All right, any public comment or participation? All right, that's great. Facilities update. Dave.
Lucky you guys, you get me for the whole committee of the whole. Let's talk about facilities, give you guys a little update. We got a lot going on. And I think it's all positive, so we'll get started. I'm gonna go over a little bit about the ongoing projects we have and the summer projects we got coming up. So we haven't talked in a while specifically, you know, the last time we talked about Spire is we needed more money. But what you see is we're on schedule for that. But we're going to talk a little bit about Spire. We're going to talk about the HVAC upgrades. Recall we had a lot of ESSER money or CARES money, and this board said, hey, we want to use it for air quality improvements. And we started with Jane Addams, Butterworth Elementary, and Logan, and they're all upcoming in this summer. And it's been a lot of work to get to this point, and we're still hopeful they'll get done. So, and then we have some others. We have Deere and Wilson, the auditorium, electrical and lighting. This is something that's been a priority for like 4 years running now. But with all the COVID stuff and other priorities kind of jumping over it for emergency sake, you know, it's lasted as long as it can, because I tell you what, the Wilson or Deere's electrical in their auditorium is at the point of it's past its life expectancy. Then we have ongoing life health safety projects. If you remember last year, we did Roosevelt where we took some abatement out and we did all their doors and hardware. And we also did Washington. Now we're going to start at the high school. It's a little bigger project, so we'll knock off stuff when we can in the summer that meets the needs of the 10-year life safety. And Moline High School doors, we're talking about just for the hardware, not the installation, probably $100,000. So it'll take them a lot of the summer to go over that. Wilson, HVAC and heating repair, you haven't heard me talk about this because it really just broke recently. And it's really, if you think about when you go into the office, it's that main wing, and with all the offices and some of the smaller breakout rooms and conference rooms, that we have to get some heat and HVAC right away. So they're probably looking at not having HVAC in the offices this summer. Don't tell them yet. But and then we're trying to gear it up so we can make sure it's ready for school. But it might be a $400,000 item is what we're looking at right now. So, you know, that's something that just popped up. So and we have LEDs. We're still trying to upgrade them. We're trying to get to Willard this summer. And that's really just bulb replacement. It's nothing like tearing down the ceilings that we did at Logan and Lincoln Irving. So that's what we're really going to talk about, and a few other things, but that's the highlights. Let's start out with the Spire. So if you recall, I'm giving you the whole wing. Remember, this is what we redesigned, except for the pool area. Everything else is really being touched and retouched, and I have if you guys have any questions that I don't know, I also have Keith here that we can provide any information, but let us go over the highlights and then you can ask anything you would like. Recall this, the budget was, we had a construction budget of roughly 2.6 million. We had some contingency in there for the unknown. We had professional services, architect, and Russell, in this case, it's Liggett and Russell. And that was a total of 3.5 million. And that was after the bids were open. So now really, what do we have year to date? We are on schedule and on budget. Good news, good news. You know, but if you raise the budget high enough, I can be within budget. But in reality, we're on budget for what that happens. The contingency budget is really what we manage every day moving forward. It's roughly 5-6% of the total budget. But right off the bat, we found out the drawings had PEX for copper tubing. It's kind of a hard plastic. And we typically don't do that. We're not sure why the design was done that way. We signed off on it, but we wanted to make sure we went to copper because that's all of our other. So that was right away 35,000. We did that day one. And then the other stuff, we have expenditures to date. Out of that 88,000, we have about 25,000 of that is related to the fire sprinkler and suppression, because we tried to bid that out when we bid everything else and nobody would bid. So we had to put it in the contingency, we had a bid, and of course it was higher, but we're still within the region. And then the other thing is a lot of it is the unknown that we went to in the locker rooms, the boy and the girls locker room. We had floors that we had to cut up, and you don't know if it's 4 inches, then it becomes 6 inches. We had to take down some walls, and there's a lot of unknowns. So that was about $50,000 just related with the demo. Ceilings were hard pan, so it all within reason. So it still leaves us $116,000 to the good, and we got all our demo done. So I think we're in very good shape. Now it's, what do we want to use that $116,000 for? There's a lot of things that get overlooked when you're going through the process, and the architect's drawing it, and then you say, hey, that doesn't make sense. As an example, the 6 classrooms we have, they put the drywall up to 8 feet, but the ceilings are 10 feet. So there's a block wall that goes around. You know, for those 6, it might cost $25,000 to bring that up and have a finished look. And that might be something we do. There's, you know, some copper in the gym that is a water line from the air conditioning. You know, a ball could hit that or damage it, and you don't want that. So that's a minor thing, but there's also like painting, you know, and doing a coat over the shower area and the toilet area in the locker rooms, because we left the concrete there, so it's kind of somewhat uneven. You don't want to slip and fall in there. Not a lot of money, but those are the things we'll be looking at moving forward. Some of the minor things that might get us a little bang for the buck or wow is, you know, we had no graphic designs in here. If you remember the Bartlett, the graphic really sets that off. If you think about the PE facility, the graphics really set it off. It's the same with Franklin. So we'll get into that other stuff that we'll really get into, but we wanted to make sure we got past demo and we feel comfortable moving forward. So those are the type of things we'll look at, but we feel very, very confident that, knock on wood, we're on schedule. We have the labor in place, we have all the product, we think, in place, and then we have a whole bunch of items that we think we're very high confidence that we'll get. So with that said, I brought you a show and tell. If you want to come in and look at, this is the color scheme of everything. So anything you want to look at, there's carpet, there's different carpet for the Spire offices, then another area. You know, there's the bathroom, the paint, and everything we tried to do is we tried to somewhat mirror what the BPAC was and the PE center. So the building started to have a synergy with a color scheme and everything. Granted, we didn't go away from maroon, so don't be, nobody would listen to me going away a little bit from maroon. So, but it will match, and you won't see, you know, like 3 separate additions. So I think it'll be very nice. They did a nice job. The only thing I am cautious about is if we'll get all the furniture. And that's just because what's happening nobody's told me we won't get it. They've said the other thing, and we've been very aggressive on our bids to get out early. So I think we're in very good shape. So with that, that's a positive. the HVAC projects for the summer. We got Jane Addams, we got Butterworth, we got Logan. Remember when we gave you a budget, really a year and a half ago on this, when CARES money first came out with allocation 2 and 3, we wanted to do everything we could right away to identify the projects. And then once we identify the projects, right away, get an architect that could do the job to give us the project scope, and then hire a contractor so we could bid those out and order. If you remember, the chillers and the unit vents were a 30-week lead time. So we go, that puts us in July. So I'm not confident on any of this, but I think what we did as an organization was very aggressive, and we were one of the leaders in the nation about how fast we used it and turned it around. With that, I'm going to tell you, when we gave you these estimates, we looked at what the HVAC cost was at with the BPAC, with the PE facility, with the ongoing cost of the high school. And we even looked at as far back as Lincoln. And we based everything on square footage and gave you the best guess we could. If you look at it, we were way off on Jane Addams. Well, what happened to that was, well, when you put that much equipment in, we have to add on to Jane Addams, you know, a 10 by 15, 20.
15 by 25.
15 by 25 onto their boiler room to fit all the equipment. You know, so we didn't know that at that time. So yeah, we were wrong. If you look at Butterworth, way high. Again, there's a lot of things like we don't know about what is the air quality noise ordinance?
Well, the ordinance in the city of Moline, we had to stay within so many decibel levels at different frequencies, not knowing what chiller we had purchased. It was very difficult to come up with that answer. We have a sound engineer that told us we have to build a building now that's 25 feet long, 8 feet tall, and 20 feet wide to put the chiller in, because we have the wall from the highway bouncing off and sending sounds, all those different frequencies into Heritage.
Now, that didn't have a problem with the high school. And the funny thing, that didn't have a problem with it at Franklin's.
Right.
Those are things we didn't know. But then if you look at Logan, we're $1 million off the other way. Well, why was that? Well, last year we decided to put LED lighting in and tear all the roof, the ceilings down, the hard pans. So a lot of that cost was spent last year in a different project, but it was very proactive and good. Overall, we're up about 500,000, and that's what you guys all awarded. And I feel very good that our processes have been successful. I have no idea if it will be able to get everything done, because we can't control when we get the product. So, and when you think about it, we got 70 days to do those things. You know, that's what the summer is, really, 70 days. So we're confident that we give it our best shot. I think we'll have good luck. If we were this far ahead right now, we would have had no chance. And there's a lot of school districts that aren't doing anything in this summer with that money because of that. So we're pretty good. Next year, next summer after this, remember the other ones were Lincoln Irving, Jefferson, and Washington. So we're on, and then in addition to that, we have the redos for the middle schools, because the life expectancy is old, and you're already seeing, you know, $400,000 at Wilson. But we have Wilson, Deere, Roosevelt, and Bicentennial. So we got a lot of HVAC, but I think we're in a good place as of whatever, March 10th. Here, to give you some background, we had the 1% bond projects. You know all about these projects. The bold ones are the ones still outstanding. We have the high school HVAC all done. It's not all paid out. It's not all commissioned. We really haven't run it full steam yet. So we're working out the kinks. And until we do that, we're not going to pay all the contractors. But I want you to know we're well within budget. But out of that $1.3 million, there's $600,000 to demo the old boiler area. You know, we can make our decision if we want to do that moving forward or not. But in that original plan, there was a demo budget for that whole area, because it's 2 stories and it's it'd be awful expensive if you wanted to make it, storage or something like that. And we're still very short on parking around the PE center and the high school. So not short. It wouldn't go to waste. So with that, we're in good shape. LED lightings and upgrades, we're gonna be way off, folks. Because when we first did estimates for LED lighting in 2018, we thought we were just changing the bulbs. We're going through the buildings now with HVAC, and we're tearing down the roofs, the whole ceiling. So if they're hard pan, they're going way down. This does not have Lincoln Urban and Logan in it yet, because we're allocating that cost accordingly. But in the end, you'll be very, very successful in those completion of those 5 projects for well under what we sold the bonds. We'll have room for discussion moving forward. The Rock Island County Facilities Tax, just the revenue side. The annual estimated revenue is 3.8 million. It's been about 3.8 million. Last year it was 3.72. The year before it was 3.77. The year before that it was 3.8. Those are the 3 full years since we've had it. This year I think you're going to be almost to 400. But now with the price of gas and who knows? But the good news is, remember when we did COVID, we only budgeted 3 million because we didn't know how much we get, and we got 3.7. So that 700,000 from COVID year went into our balance for emergency use. Because before the 1% came out, we had no emergency. So if something like Deere happened, or Wilson, we'd be in trouble. But now we have that flexibility to have it. So this year's budget, we paid $3 million on the bond proceeds for that 1% that we just showed. We have an annual miscellaneous upgrades, and that's really for proactive preventative maintenance for our buildings. It's tuck pointing, it's painting, it's actually where the money is being paid out for the 2 auditoriums. And then we always said, this board and the prior board, when it came about, said, save some for a rainy day. So we've been saving about $300,000 for a rainy day. So we haven't overcommitted. So as I've said throughout this whole last year and a half, our finances are in very good shape. The things that we have are struggling with is COVID related, the student side of it, and the teacher, the education side of it more so than the finances. And that's good, I guess. So miscellaneous. So we got a few things that I want to talk about that are out of the just construction that we talk about. Horace Mann lease. Now, if you remember, we had Horace Mann, we shut it when we built Bicentennial Edition in 08, and then we tried to sell it twice. It wasn't, nobody would market, nobody bought it on a RFP. And then we had somebody interested, Camelot back then was interested in housing a special needs private placement facility, and they rented it from us. The first year they gave us $125,000, and then we put an escalator in there for every time you got over, X amount of kids, we got more money, because their goal was to be about 90 or 100 kids, or 75. So the first year they wanted to get there, they didn't get past the next escalator. Then the next year it went to 150, the third year it went to 175, and then we gradually got up to 300,000, and they're over 75 kids. So now it's 300,000. This is they're on the third year of a 4-year lease. Now Camelot is called High Road. So they sold off, Camelot sold a different company, but they're doing the same private placement. So they would like to rent the building from us on a long-term basis, but the lease that was developed by then the board president that might have had a lot of knowledge to help me write a lease, because she might have been a retail person, and we have a very good lease for the district, because we didn't want to pay for any of the repairs, because that's not our core function. We don't want to be landlords, but hey, when we're making over the last 7 years, $1.7 million, it's not bad. And we put that into our emergency fund, but we know they need a new roof. We know it needs a new boiler. We know it needs parking lot resurfacing. We know the boiler might be $500,000. We know the roof might be $400,000. We know we'd be lucky if the parking lot only costs $300,000. So there's a lot of money in there. And when last year, when we were talking to them, I said to them, our desire isn't to put a new boiler in that facility. Our core mission is molding schools, facilities that we educate people in. They said, yeah, but if it breaks, it's our responsibility. I said, yeah, that's the lease we signed. I said, because we don't want to worry about that. Well, they're worried about it breaking and not being able to get fixed. And I said, I'm worried about our Willard School that is built in 1899 needing a new boiler last year. I said, I don't think the Board of Education is really concerned about the lease or, you know, the land, the tenant of the lease, because we're worried about our own stuff first. I said, however, if you guys were willing to upfront costs of some of this and we take a shared aspect and we rearrange the lease, I said, I'm willing to talk, but I'm not willing to take away funds needed for our buildings where house 100% of our kids and take away from that for a property we're leasing. So that's where we're in the midst of negotiating. We have one more year of contract. They can either sign by that by just giving me an email, say, hey, we want to sign for next year for the 300,000. But I said, in good faith, we would look at extending it, but we're not looking at upfronting $1 million to $1.5 million. And it's not only the money, we don't have the internal capacity to do that. You know, it's think about how long I've been talking to you about Spire. You know, that's 3 different projects. You've been to many of our boilers. We're talking about a big function that's going to take a lot of, you know, John's time, Keith's time, my time, and a lot of things. So it's not only about the money, it's about our resources that we have available. And we've identified 2 big summers to get our stuff done. So stay tuned. That's all I got for you right now. The other one is Coal Valley. Now this is, it's Stan Engstrom Park, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of history here. This is Coal Valley. This is my map. This is my rendition of Coal Valley. So if you look at here, this is Bicentennial. So this is First Avenue. For other people other than Todd that knows, Todd's right up in here somewhere. So this is the park right in here. It seems when we had consolidated with Coal Valley into Moline School District in 1952, we had no building there, a school. And over time, what we did with that is, and roughly the property was here. That was all the school districts. It used to be Coal Valley School District, now it became Moline School District, and now we're named Moline Coal Valley School District. It's our property. I believe when we redid this, and I'm going to point here, is right past here. This house, this house, this house, this house, this house, and this house were all built through building trade students at Moline High School over time. I was involved in this house, and this house. So my predecessor Kramer was involved in the other 3 and building that out, and that's also called Ray Norris Drive. If you ever remember, Ray Norris was the person that kind of built up that program and did everything. And we at one time allowed the city to take that land for a park, or the village. So I don't know when. Maureen Riggs, who's here for Churchill, calls me up and says, Dave, do you own that property? I said, no, I think it's a park, and I think it's Coal Valley, the village up. Well, it seems we're still on the deed. So the Coal Valley Village would like to have that property because they've been maintaining it with a park and they have restrooms and everything like that. So after talking to Maureen and reaching out to my predecessor, Terry Kramer, who was here 2 years prior to me for 32 years, he believes the same thing. He believes after we did all the build outs for the properties, we probably had no use for that. And we probably gave it to Coal Valley, but the paperwork did follow. So I would propose that we have no future need for this property. They have maintained it and used it for many, many years, that we do a quick deed to them for $1. So you might see a motion maybe in the next board agenda in a month for that type of transaction. Miscellaneous continued. this is kind of my last thing, and this is just kind of, nothing has to be done now, but we have a long-term planning, you know, we've done very good at our HVAC, we've been very good because that's all through CARES money and ESSER money, you know, but really, we gotta get back to what's our long-term planning, we updated the facility study last year, so we need to think about the next major project. And I'll help you guys get to there if you want my help, but it doesn't have to be today. But it really has to be someday, because we have the 1% gonna be done in fiscal year 27. We're talking about being in fiscal year 23 next time. So if you're talking about a big project, there's a lot of planning that has to go. You know, I would say with Hamilton, it probably took 4 years. You know, from the planning stage through kids getting there. So it's not today, but it's someday we have to think about that. So with that, that's all I got for you today. Any questions?
I've got one going forward to, not this coming summer, but next summer when we do the other 3 schools. Given what we know now as far as the need to build buildings and obviously extend boiler rooms. Are we working with the architect in
We're doing that now.
forcing it? Okay,
Right
I
now.
know, like Lincoln Irving, I'm sure there's gonna have to be some.
He was there yesterday.
Yeah, we were there for 3 hours yesterday. So we've already had a preliminary meeting in January for the next 2023 summer. And we've already come up with a game plan. We're going to design 1 building at a time based on the square footage, kind of work our way down. Put them all out to bid roughly around August, September. And then we'll have a much better feel for it. One of the things we did do with Logan, knowing that the projects we had designed first, seeing, well, we got to add these buildings. We've got to add this box around the chillers. We got concerned about how our dollars were coming out. So when we got to Logan, we didn't rip everything out like we did the other schools. We utilized the ductwork system that was already in there and upgraded that and upgraded the fans and stuff like that. So we kind of thought we were getting a little heavy concern, and we decided to use as much of the old system as we could, update it, and replace all the stuff that we needed to provide air conditioning.
Now, that works in some buildings, others it might not.
Correct, we couldn't do that the other ones.
But I would tell you, you're 100% correct. The day after bid opening on these, and we got that approved by the board, we started working on the next 3 buildings. And with our hope is to get that out, so we have a 30-week lead time, we have more time. And we know more people will be doing that because not a lot did it this summer. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Yes,
So with it though, if things do not go, they will totally go the way they're supposed to this summer. All of the supplies will be in, we'll have the buildings. But if that doesn't happen this summer and things get to the point where it just, is there a point, a no return point where things aren't
now
happening at all?
here's where I think, as of now, when we do think about contingency, after last year with the LED lighting not coming in, we thought about that right away. I think with the air conditioning, we had a conversation with Rachel when we walked through Jane Addams with the principal, with Keith and with the contractor. And we talked about some various different options for that. And I came out and I said to her, you know, I'm not sure. I have no basis to be positive or negative. So we got a great plan, but I want to have something in case it doesn't. And the reality is if the chillers don't come in, everything on the internal side of the building should be done, finished, no problems. They won't have air conditioning. Problem is we promised them air conditioning and we'll just have to get over that. But I think that's the worst case scenario. No, I don't think that's the worst case scenario. I think that's a good contingency plan
Okay,
to not have people worried about that their rooms are gonna be tore up and we can't get in the buildings.
another question related to the Camelot space to Horace Mann.
Yep.
Because of the cost that eventually, I mean, I know the lease looks good right now that covers what, you know, that we're not responsible for it, but at some point, are they at all interested in buying it? Do we have any other things to put out there so that we're not holding on to a property that's falling apart?
I've asked that. And I asked that before we even entered our first lease in 15. Their business model is to lease, not own. So there was an option out there that Maureen and Dan Church, Mark Churchill and I talked about is getting a lease that's long-term and then selling the building. But in the end, the lease coming up, if it's a multi-year, is gonna address those 3 things. And we're not really worried about, the boiler is a big concern. You know, for them, because there is asbestos there, and they don't, I mean, they're a full year of school, so they have rights to be concerned, but they are not in construction where Keith and I have seen it and worked with it and been with it. We're not as concerned about that, but they have legitimate concerns.
Any other
Well,
questions?
that was gonna be part of my question, is if they'd be interested in buying. But obviously, I have big concerns about this building. And what the plan is for this building. I would like,
That's your-
I'm the third,
Yes,
well, I mean,
what do I see?
yeah, and I'll give you what I think we should do. Cause I'm.
Here's what all I can
you.
tell you is we all have our personal opinions. You don't want to hear my personal opinion, maybe there's other time for that, but my opinion is, I sat through the facility study with community members and with various different stakeholders in the district, not only admin, but community members and employees as well that are community members. And their wishes for this building was maybe to tear it down and then build one building, multiple sections that replaces Roosevelt and Logan. That's what the committee recommended, so I'm gonna go with that.
Okay, I think that we should look into putting an RFP or RFQ, however you do it.
Yep.
To see if it would be feasible to sell this building to a developer. I mean, it's a cool building, right? The outside's really cool, and I know it needs a ton of work, but there are a lot of tax incentives, and I think
I would
redevelopment of the avenue is
I would tell you
desperately needed.
that when we sold Garfield, it was to a developer. There was a great amount of tax incentives for that. And I said, would you like a sister school, maybe Willard? I said, that was just me talking. And their response to me at that point in time was, Garfield's the smallest project they ever did. So I think saying that they might be interested in. The downfall that I might say, my personal opinion is, there's a lot of need for more space around the high school, the more and more you go. And you know, there is some need for that, but I understand your economic development for there. But it would be nice if you were gonna rebuild the building here, I'm gonna go back to the committee. The committee thought that if you had this as a new staple school, just like we said, Hamilton would be a state-of-the-art. This one would be very powerful for Moline to be a state-of-the-art on the avenue. And then you wouldn't have to displace two schools, Logan and Roosevelt, while you're building. Because remember, we had to displace Garfield, Hamilton, while we were building onto it. So those are all considerations for someday.
What property do we own south of the high school, like by the driving range?
Right, basically past the driving range and into the ravine.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's quite a bit.
that's what,
I used to cross that when I walked to the high school.
I mean,
Back in the day,
right,
back in the 1800s.
there's space back there, right. Anything else?
Anyone else for Dave?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Dave. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? I'm gonna stay for 2 minutes, because I School District number 40, immediately following the committee of the whole on Thursday, March 10th, 2020. And I please have a roll call.
Audrey Adamson. Here. Justin Anderson.
Present.
Chet DeSmet.
Here.
Kate Schaefer. Maria S. Trigueros.
Here.
Andrew Wayers.
Here.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Here. And all rise for the pledge of allegiance, please.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 3 is the approval of minutes. Minutes of the open session of the regular Board of Education meeting of February 28th, 2022, and D, the minutes of the closed session of the regular Board of Education meeting of February 28th, 2022. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, hearing none, we move on. Communication, public comment, and participation. All right. Awesome. Number 5, consent agenda. All right. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda items A through C, E2 through E4, and F through T as presented. I have a motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Justin Anderson.
Aye.
Chet DeSmet.
Aye.
Kate Schaefer. Oh, sorry. Maria S. Trigueros.
Aye.
Andrew Wayer.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda item E1 as presented. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Chet DeSmet.
Aye.
Maria S. Trigueros.
Aye.
Andrew Wayer.
Abstain.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Justin Anderson.
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye. All right, number 6 is the resolution of the Rock Island County multi-jurisdictional local hazard and mitigation plan. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the resolution and adopt the Rock Island County multi-jurisdictional local hazard and mitigation plan. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. And a roll call, please.
Maria S. Trigueros.
Aye.
Andrew Wayer.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Justin Anderson. Chet DeSmet.
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye. Number 7, the recommended motion is that the Board of Education enter into a memorandum of understanding with School Health Link Incorporated from August 1st, 2020 through June 30, 2024. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I'm going to do it right this time. Any discussion? Hearing none. Can I have a roll call, please?
Andrew Wayer.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Justin Anderson.
Aye.
Chet DeSmet.
Aye.
Maria S. Trigueros.
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye. Number 8, the recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the Board of Education meeting calendars for the 2022-2023 and 2023 and 2024 school years as presented. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Justin Anderson.
Aye.
Chet DeSmet.
Aye.
Maria S. Trigueros.
Aye.
Andrew Wayer.
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye. Reports, requests, and open discussion. Let's start with Dr. Savage's report, please.
Okay, we have had some amazing music performances last week and in the next few weeks. Celebration of the growth of our choirs, bands, and orchestras across our schools is amazing. We also had a fantastic musical from Wilson last week, and the high school's musical starts, I believe, tonight. These celebrations of our student talent is one of the brightest lights in our district, and I hope you get the chance to catch some of the upcoming performances. Regarding the academic recovery process, we are in the heart of assessment season. We now have the results of our winter benchmark data from Panorama, which assesses students' social emotional well-being. Our winter math measures of academic progress data, which gauges academic attainment and growth of core subjects from the fall to the winter, and the state Illinois assessment for readiness, which students are taking now. With that, the analysis of our winter map data is now complete, and teachers are using the data to now inform and adjust their instruction for fourth quarter. Dr. Pribble and Mr. Ryerson implemented a classroom recognition program called Mapping for Success Destination Growth. We had 31 classrooms across our elementary schools that had 75% of their kids reach their academic growth goals from fall to winter. As MAP is a nationally normed assessment, they target the goal to be 50% of the kids in each classroom. Having 31 classrooms exceed that by 25% is outstanding and a testament to the work of the teachers and staff and students in those classrooms. Third quarter ends next Friday, March 18th, and then spring break follows beginning Monday, March 21st. It's important to reflect how far we have come. It has been nearly 2 years to the date when we were informed by the governor of Illinois that we were going to have to close all of our schools for what was supposed to be 3 weeks of active God days. From there, it has been a roller coaster of ups and downs for kids, families, and staff. I'm beyond grateful to state that we have not closed one school this year, and now the fourth quarter is right around the corner to round out this year. Thank you again to all of our staff, students and families for their tenacity and dedication this year. And that's all I have.
Anything else?
Get the bike. Public Schools Foundation
Don't forget to buy tickets for the Public School Foundation
thing, spring thing.
spring outing thing.
There you go.
Okay.
On that, also Booster Club sent out notice they're doing the spring mulch again. I got it last year, I'm getting it again this year. Good stuff, I recommend it.
That was cool too, because they showed up with an RV of kids.
Yeah.
Unloaded it exactly where you wanted it.
So you tell them where to put each bag, it's right where you needed it, so you know, do your work. That's good.
They do my garden too while they're there, like plant. I'll pay extra for that.
Yeah, I bet you.
Okay. We're going to adjourn to go into closed session. Can I get a motion on that, please?
Oh, well.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye, all right. Can I have a motion to return to open session?
So moved.
Second.
All right, ayes. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any discussion about it? Okay. First gonna go for number 12, the transfers for certified staff. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the elected transfer of Treaser standards for the principal position in the Moline High School to revise the 10-month coordinator K-12 instructional program position, formerly the 12-month director of K-12 instructional programs, effective for 2022-2023 school year. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Maria S. Trigueros.
Aye.
Andrew Wayard,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Justin Anderson,
No.
Chet DeSmet.
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye. Okay, the recommended motion is that the Board of Education dismiss the educational support personnel employee, Mr. Kevin Nader, for reasons other than reduction in force effective immediately. May I please have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Andrew Wayard,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson,
Aye.
Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Chet DeSmet.
Aye.
Maria S. Trigueros,
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye. Recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the appointment of Mr. Grant Putman to the position of principal at Franklin Elementary, effective for the 2022-2023 school year. May I please have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Audrey Adamson,
Aye.
Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Chet DeSmet,
Aye.
Kate Schaefer, Maria S. Trigueros,
Aye.
Andrew Wayard,
Aye.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Won't let you down.
I move for adjournment, please. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we adjourn.